The tourist shouted insults at the guard, believing he could do whatever he wanted. But one step forward changed everything. What happened next became a lesson for everyone. London, a clear morning at Buckingham Palace. Crowds of tourists gather around the majestic building, eager to capture the Queen's Guard on camera, a symbol of British discipline and tradition. Amid the noisy sea of people, one man stands out. A tall, lean man in his 40s wearing a bright orange jacket and a cap. His coarse face and loud voice immediately draw attention. He shouts as though the stage belongs to him. "Hey, red coat, come on, give us a smile. Or what, is your program malfunctioning?" The guard, a young man in his early 30s with chiseled features and a perfect posture, does not react. His dark eyes, fixed in the distance, seem to say, "You can't break me." His impeccably tailored uniform and polished boots add to his stern appearance. But even such composure doesn't stop the heckler. "What's the matter? Too important for us? Or did your mom not love you as a kid?" The tourist continues, gesturing wildly. A few in the crowd chuckle. Others turn away, avoiding involvement, but most silently observe, nodding disapprovingly. An elderly woman standing to the side whispers to her companion, "This is appalling. Can't he show a little respect?" The tourist, clearly enjoying the attention, takes a few steps closer. His voice booms over the crowd. "You know, I pay taxes back home and my money lets me travel here. So I've got the right to have a little fun. Come on, redcoat, do something." The crowd begins murmuring. Some pull out their phones. This is their chance to capture a moment. But others watch with disdain. A young woman standing nearby, visibly embarrassed by the man's behavior, gently says, "Maybe that's enough. You're taking it too far." But the man waves her off dismissively, continuing his performance. The guard remains still. His jaw tightens slightly, the only sign he's hearing the insults. To the tourist, this silence feels like a challenge. "Come on, smile, buddy. You're just a doll in a uniform, right? Is that all they keep you here for?" he shouts, then turns to the crowd with a smirk. "See? They're just here for decoration, furniture, and costumes." The tourist, frustrated by the lack of reaction, moves right up to the guard. His face radiates smugness, and his eyes gleam with anticipation. Leaning in, he invades the young man's personal space and sneers. "Come on, say something. I thought you Brits were real men, not mannequins in hats." The guard stands as though carved from stone. Only the slightest tightening of his jaw betrays that he's aware of the taunts. But this subtle shift doesn't go unnoticed by the keen-eyed members of the crowd. Phones are now clearly aimed at them. This could be a viral moment. The tourist takes a step back, like an actor preparing for a dramatic finale. Pulling a coin from his pocket, he tosses it at the guard's feet with a mocking grin. "Here, earn your smile, buddy." The crowd collectively gasps. The metallic clang of the coin hitting the cobblestones reverberates like a slap, not just to the guard, but to everything he represents. "This is unacceptable. Where's security?" exclaims a man in a sharp suit, clearly a local, his pride in his country visibly wounded. But the tourist just scoffs, his body language oozing amusement. He relishes the attention, as though his audacity is something to be applauded rather than condemned. Leaning in closer, he whispers just loud enough for the guard to hear. "So, where's your queen now, pretty boy? You're only here because of her, right? So, where is she? Why don't you call her to help you?" And then something unexpected happens. A palpable silence falls over the square, as taut as a drawn string. The guard, until now motionless as a statue, takes a deliberate step forward. The heavy thud of his boot striking the cobblestone echoes through the air. The crowd freezes, and the tourist, caught off guard, stumbles back. "Step away, sir, now." The guard's voice is like thunder on a clear day. There's no shouting, only crisp authority and unwavering resolve that sends chills down spines. The tourist, accustomed to being in control, suddenly finds himself in the unfamiliar role of the one obeying. He glances around, bewildered, as if struggling to believe the command was directed at him. The tourist, having lost his confidence, froze in place, glancing nervously at the crowd. The laughter he had enjoyed just moments ago was replaced by disdainful stares and murmurs of disapproval. It seemed as if people suddenly became aware of the absurdity and crudeness of his behavior. "Get out of here before it gets worse," someone shouted from the crowd. Embarrassment was written all over his face, as though he had just realized he wasn't the main character but the foolish antagonist no one respected. The guard, who had taken his single step forward, returned to his original position. His posture became flawless once again, his gaze fixed in the distance, as he transformed back into a symbol of unwavering discipline and dignity. This silent return to duty felt like the final word in the conflict. And that was what sparked a new wave of emotions from the crowd. People began to applaud. At first, the clapping was hesitant and scattered, but it quickly grew louder and more unified. A young woman holding her phone exclaimed excitedly, "Now that's composure, respect." Others started shouting words of support, nodding approvingly toward the guard as if trying to make up for the tourist's foolishness. The tourist, realizing that the attention was no longer in his favor, tried to salvage the last scraps of his dignity. He theatrically picked up the coin he had tossed at the guard's feet and attempted a sheepish grin. "Well, that was fun," he mumbled, but his voice was no longer as loud or confident as before. No one laughed. He had no choice but to awkwardly turn around and leave the scene, pulling the collar of his bright orange jacket up to hide his face. Someone behind him muttered, "That's what happens when you mess with the Queen's guard." Phones continued recording, and people buzzed with conversation about what had just happened. It was clear the video would soon find its way to social media, and the tourist would become a target of ridicule. His shame was now etched in the memories of dozens of onlookers. The guard, as if oblivious to the chaos around him, calmly adjusted his tunic and resumed his stance. His face was once again unreadable. For him, this was just another day on duty. The crowd slowly began to disperse, but there was an unmistakable sense of something greater lingering in the air. It was a lesson about the importance of respect for tradition and the dignity embodied by the man in the red tunic. "Now, that's resilience," one tourist whispered with a smile, glancing at the guard. "The Queen should be proud." The scene at Buckingham Palace quieted down, leaving only the sound of footsteps as people walked away. The guard remained at his post, a steadfast reminder that honor and dignity cannot be shaken, even in the face of arrogance and provocation.